Alright, a little familiar deja vu here. We just finished our geometry unit, so now we're going to go back into the algebra pool, and we're going to kind of swim around a little bit and do a little bit of reviewing of some of the algebra topics that we talked about in the fall. And one of the more familiar items should be the y equals mx plus b formula. It's a pretty powerful formula. It tells us a lot of things about the situation that's going on, whether it's a picture, a table, an equation, or just an algebraic situation. It is a very powerful tool. So this is going to be a little bit of review and maybe a new concept or two along the way. But first of all, let's talk about y equals mx plus b. We know that m stands for a couple different things. Number one, it's our coefficient, which is always the number in front of the variable. It is not the variable, it's the number in front of the variable. It also stands for our rate, which is how much we're increasing or decreasing by in the situation, whether it's a table graph or a word problem. It is our rate. And then finally, on a graph, it is our slope. And it can either be positive, which means it's going up left to right, or negative, which means it's decreasing left to right. We'll see more about that as we go on. Taking a look at B. B is generally our starting point. So it could also be our starting point. And it's more commonly known as the y-intercept. So it's generally where the line crosses the y-axis on a graph. So again, we can talk about on a graph. Here we have a slope. You could say that slope would be positive because it's increasing from left to right. And the y-intercept, if it crossed the y-axis here, would be 5. If we had a table, a little xy table, you don't need to copy this part down. 0, 1, 2, 6, 8, 10. Okay, our rate would be how much it's increasing or decreasing by each time, and our starting point or our y-intercept occurs when x is 0. Not the 0, but when x is 0. So in this case, it would be the y-intercept of 6. You could say that this is a slope of 2. Okay, so we're going to get more detail of that in a couple of minutes. But let's just quickly go through these couple of examples. So it says identify the slope and a y-intercept in the following equations. Again, this should be a review for most of us. So we're just quickly going to go through these. The slope's always the number in front of the variable, so that would be -2. The y-intercept is the number by itself. It doesn't have a variable, so there is 4. And the next one. Now again, a lot of students get confused because there's no number in front of the x. It is there, it's just invisible. And that, of course, is 1. So my slope is 1. Oops. And my y-intercept, again, sometimes we tend to fear the negative. We leave the negative behind. That subtraction sign is attached to the 5. So our y-intercept is -5. In this next problem, do we see an x? Is there an x in this equation? The answer is no, because it's 0 times x, and 0 times x is just 0, so our slope just goes away, or our slope is 0 in this case. And our y-intercept would be 5. In the next problem, the number in front of the variable is a fraction, no big deal. We can have fractions, we can have decimals. Fraction there would be 1/2, that's our slope. Do you see a number by itself? No, but there is a number by itself. We just don't see it. It's +0. No reason to write it there. So our y-intercept in this case would be 0. And then finally, in our last problem, we have the number in front of the variable is 2/3. And the number by itself, do not forget the negative, is -8. So that's just a little bit of review for your y equals mx plus b. Okay, let's take a look at the next page, which for some reason won't let me do. Okay, I think I fixed a glitch there. Okay, so in the next page, we're just going to work with 3 different situations into writing our equation in slope-intercept form. And slope-intercept form is just a fancy way of saying y equals mx plus b. Okay, so this is our slope-intercept form. So in the first part, we're given 2 points. So again, this is going back to what we talked about in the fall. Well, what are the 2 things you need to write an equation? Well, you need your m and your b. Well, if I'm given 2 points, I can find the m, and I can do that by using one of the formulas. It's actually on your formula sheet for the PSSAs. So m, oops. So m equals y minus y over x minus x. So I just get my y values here, 14 and 8. So I'm going to have 14 minus 8 over my x values. There's my x, 4 minus 2. So 14 minus 8 is 6. 4 minus 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 there is 3. So in this case, my m is 3. So I've already figured out my m. Now I just need to figure out my b. So to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to use our equation and we're going to steal our answers from, we're going to steal some of our numbers from the problem. So let's start off with y equals mx plus b. Okay, now each ordered pair has an x and a y. So I can fill those in to that y equals mx equation. Y equals mx plus b equation. So y I'll steal from right here, which is 14. So I'm going to replace the y with a 14. M I just calculated. That is 3. Times x, well, go back to that same ordered pair. Steal that 4. I don't know what b is. That's why I'm doing this. So b just stays b. And again, I'll make that a capital B so it doesn't look like it's 6. Ugh, that's bad. Sorry about that. So 14 equals 12 plus b. So now how do I figure out what b is? Well, I have to get rid of my 12 here. So I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides. So subtract 12, back to our algebra days. 2 equals b. So what are the 2 things you need? You need an m and you need a b. So I have an m and I have a b. My equation would be y equals 3x plus 2. Okay. Take a look at the next problem. Now they're giving us a point. So here's a point, 4, 7, and a slope, m equals 1/2. So it's very similar to the previous problem, but they've already done most of the work for us. So they've kind of taken it to this point right here where they already figured out the slope. The slope's 1/2. Okay, so now we're going to kind of move ahead to this point here in our previous problem. So the first thing you should do is write y equals mx plus b. And again, you're going to steal from the problems. I'm going to steal my x and y here and my slope here. So my y value is 7, so I'm going to replace that y with a 7. M, they're telling us, is 1/2. So 1/2 times whatever x is. Well, steal x from your ordered pair. So times 4. Plus b, do not know what b is. That's the point of doing this. So 7 equals 1/2 times 4 is 2. Plus b. Got to get 2 by itself. Got to get rid of it. So I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. 5 equals b. Got an m. Got a b. I'm a happy guy. I can now write y equals, my m is 1/2 x plus 5. Okay? So in the previous problems, it takes a little longer because you have to find the slope. This problem, they already told you the slope, so they did half the work for you. You just have to use your m and your x there. Okay, now let's take a look at our last problem. We want to go from standard form to slope-intercept form. So here, you notice that the problem is not in y equals mx plus b. Because you have all this jazz over here. Y is not by itself. We've noticed y is by itself over here in the equation. That's what we want. Okay, so what we have to do is just use a little bit of algebra to figure out how to get y by itself. Well, we want to undo anything that's attached to the y. So we have this 3 and we have this minus 2x. Well, you want to do the opposite of order of operations. You want to get rid of any subtraction or addition or subtraction first. So here I have this minus 2x. Well, what gets rid of a minus 2x? Well, a plus 2x. Where else do I have to do that? The other side. So go ahead and write that down. So these go away. So all that leaves me is 3y equals. Now, this is important. 12 and 2x cannot be combined. They are different. This is an apple. This is an orange. I can't make an apple orange or an orangeable. Doesn't make sense. So this is just going to remain negative 12 plus 2x. And then finally, I still have this 3 attached to the y. What's attaching it to the y? Well, it's multiplication. What does multiplication? Division. So divide by 3. Now I have to divide everything by 3 on this side. So that should leave me with y equals negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4 plus 2/3 x. So now I finally have it in my y equals mx plus b form. Okay? Take a look at the next page. Okay, on this page, what we're going to do is we're going to write equations from tables. And this is a very important skill. You'll see this many times. You'll see this in Algebra 1, you'll see this in Algebra 2, and moving on up even through higher level mathematics. So it's important to be able to look at a table and figure out what the equation is. Again, I like to write y equals mx plus b. Okay, and what do we need to find? Well, we need to find our m, we need to find our b. And how do we find m? Well, m equals y minus y over x minus x. Now, the good thing about a table is it tells you, it gives you your x's and y's. Okay, so all you really have to do is just find two ordered pairs to write your m equals your y minus y over your x minus x. So let's just do this. We'll just pick any two. I'll choose that ordered pair, 2, 5, and 5, 17. So again, remember your y's go on top. So where are my y numbers? These guys down here, 5 and 17. So 5 minus 17. What are my x's? My x's are on top here. 2 minus 5. So 5 minus 17 is a negative 12. 2 minus 5 is a negative 3. Negative 12 divided by negative 3 is a positive 4. So again, I'm almost done. I figured out the m. So all I need to do is figure out the b, or the y-intercept. Well, the good news is, in a table, the y-intercept occurs when x equals 0. Well, do you see x being 0 at all? Yeah, it's right there. So that's a gigantic clue. It helps us out. So whatever is across from it is our y-intercept. So in this case, negative 3 would be our y-intercept. So b equals negative 3. And if you have your m, you have your b, you're good to go. Final equation here would be y equals 4x, because that's our m, plus negative 3, or you could write it as y equals 4x minus 3. They are the same. Okay. Take a look at the next table. Now again, let's write our y equals mx plus b, our slope-intercept form. Okay, so this table again, we need to find our two items. We need to find our m and our b. So m is y minus y over x minus x. So again, pick any two ordered pairs. In this case, I'll just choose the top one. There's my xy. There's my xy. So again, most importantly, remember you got to put your y's on top. So 2 minus a negative 2 on top. 1 minus 3. 2 minus a negative 2. And 2 minus a negative 2 is a positive 4. 1 minus 3 is a negative 2. 4 divided by a negative 2 is a negative 2. So there's your slope, m equals negative 2. Now to find a y-intercept, you can do one of two ways. You can work backwards, trying to find when x is 0. So you know it's going down by 2, so what does this number have to be? That if you subtracted 2 to it, you ended up with 2. Well, then it has to be 4. So the y-intercept is 4. Or the other way, which you learned on the previous page, and I'll do this quickly, is to just do y equals mx plus b. Okay, and steal a y and an x. So we'll steal these guys. We'll steal 1 and 2 here. So I'll replace the y with a 2. We found m to be negative 2.
x, again, we'll steal from the table. That's 1 plus b. So 2 equals negative 2 plus b. Add 2 to both sides. And you see we end up with the same exact answer, 4 equals b, which is what we got by going backwards in the table. So your final equation is y equals negative 2x plus 4. Okay, so hopefully that's a good review on how to find equations from tables. So let's take a look at graphs real quick. So here we have two graphs, and we're going to try to find the equation from the graph. So again, y equals mx plus b, our magical formula. And there are multiple ways to find slope on a graph. We're just going to talk about two ways to do that. But generally, when I look at a graph, the first thing I look at is for the y-intercept. And the y-intercept is when the line crosses the y-axis. When does the black line cross the red line? And in this case, it happens right here, which is 0. So that is our y-intercept. So b equals 0. So again, I'm halfway there. I just have to find my m. Okay, so in this case, we're going to use rise to run. So m, which is our slope, is rise over run. So to do that, you just need to find two perfect points. So here's a perfect point, here's a perfect point, perfect point, perfect point, perfect point. If you want to, there's another perfect point. So there's a bunch of perfect points you can choose from, and I'm going to choose two that are close to each other. So I'm going to choose these two guys. So basically, to find your rise is how much you go up. To find your run is how much you go over to get from one point to the other. So again, to go from here, I need to go up 2. So I'm going to go up 2. So that gives me a rise of 2. And I'm going to go over 1. It gives me a run of 1, which ends up giving me m equals 2. Okay? Now remember, you have to look at the line and realize, is this a positive or negative slope? Well, if the line is increasing from left to right, it's positive. If the line is decreasing from left to right, the slope would be negative. So you can see here that we still ended up with a positive slope because our line is increasing from left to right. I can then go ahead and write my equation, y equals 2x plus 0, or just y equals 2x. Okay, so that's one way to do it. Let's take a look at the next graph. So here we have another graph, and again, the first thing my eyes are going to go to is the y-intercept, and that, of course, is when the black line intersects the red line. And again, I like to do my trains, put your fingers on both lines, and when they finally crash, that's your y-intercept. So in this case, my y-intercept would be negative 2. So now let's focus on the slope. So again, you still want to find perfect points. So let's kind of highlight some perfect points here. There's 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 there. So you could do rise over run, but one of the things that I like to do, again, because it's consistent, is do my y minus y over x minus x. So you just need two ordered pairs. So this ordered, whoa, what happened there? My bad. So this ordered pair would be 2 comma negative 3. And this ordered pair down here would be 4 comma negative 4. So I can have my y's and my x's there. So I'll go back up there and do this. So m equals, steal your y's, negative 3 minus a negative 4, or 2 minus 4 on the bottom. Negative 3 minus a negative 4 is a positive 1. And 2 minus 4 is a negative 2. So you can see that my slope is negative 1/2, and that makes sense because my line is decreasing from left to right. Okay. So then my final equation is y equals negative 1/2 x minus 2. Okay, so quickly review. You could choose 2 points, do your y minus y over your x minus x, or again, you could have done rise over run. I know my rise is down 2, which tells me it's negative to the right, I'm sorry, down 1 to the right 2, which is negative 1/2. So either method is fine. If you also have another method that works for you, that is fine as well. Okay. The next page is your practice page, so go ahead and work through these problems. If you need to, go back and take a look at the notes. Every one of these problems is stated in the notes, so if you're stuck on one of them, just go back and either check the video out or check what you wrote on your own packet. Okay, so for the rest of the time being, you can go ahead and work through the remainder of the packet. If you have any questions, feel free to ask one of the teachers, or again, go back and review part of the video. All right, good luck, and that's it.